poured the deputy a glass of iced tea before he read her the warrant. Behind the screen door, 11 quilting club friends were still laughing about something. None of them knew the woman they had called Sharon for 40 years had been dead since 1958. None of them knew the woman pouring the tea had killed her husband in 1983. The deputy unfolded the paper. Her hand did not shake on the picture. The year on the warrant was 43 years old. Sharon Neely arrived in Sarasota in 1984 with a Florida driver's license and no past. She took a job as a church bookkeeper and married Tom Neely, a quiet widower, 2 years later. They had David in 1988 and Kayla in 1991. She ran the quilting circle for 16 years and sat third pew, left aisle, every Sunday for 38. She never raised her voice. Tom said more than once that he had gotten lucky twice in one life. There was only one thing about Sharon nobody on Magnolia Ridge Drive ever questioned. She never talked about anything before 1984. She had no high school yearbook on the shelf, no parent's grave to visit, no childhood snapshot on the fridge. When the quilting club asked once, she said her people were gone. She said it the way people say things they have practiced, so they stopped asking. They assumed estrangement. They assumed grief. Nobody on that street ever asked the one question that would have unmade her. 600 miles north, in Cedar Falls, Iowa, an 81-year-old retired librarian named Ellie Vance was scrolling through a Sarasota Quilting Guild newsletter. She stopped on a group photo, front row, third from the left. Ellie kept one photograph in her wallet, a black and white square from 1958. Her baby sister Margaret, 6 months old, 2 weeks before pneumonia took her. The woman in the Florida newsletter had Margaret's chin. Ellie ordered a $59 Ancestry DNA kit that afternoon. The yellow envelope arrived 3 days later. She looked at it on the kitchen table for an hour before she opened it.
6 weeks later, the results came back. The match was labeled S. Neely, Florida. Shared DNA, 24.7%. 24.7% is not a stranger. It is a first cousin, an aunt, a sister. Ellie Vance had one sister, Margaret, born 1957, died 1958, buried under a small stone in Cedar Falls Lutheran Cemetery. Ellie sat at the kitchen table for a long time. Then she went to the courthouse and asked for a certified copy of her sister's death certificate. On November 4, 2025, Ellie Vance wrote 3 pages of careful longhand to the Sarasota County Sheriff. She enclosed the Ancestry DNA printout and Margaret's death certificate. She walked the envelope to the mailbox and lifted the red flag. 1,100 miles south, the letter landed on Detective Marcus Reyes's desk. He read it once. He set it down. He read it again. He kept it on his desk for 11 weeks while a state lab confirmed the only sentence he had not believed. Here is the sentence Detective Reyes had not believed. Sharon Neely's birth certificate, filed with Florida's DMV in 1984, belonged to a 6-month-old girl who had died of pneumonia in Cedar Falls, Iowa in April 1958. The infant's name was Margaret Ann Vance. Sharon Neely was not a person. Sharon Neely was a name stolen off a 1958 death record by someone who needed, very badly, to be someone else by the spring of 1983. The audience that has gotten this far thinks the story is identity theft. The audience is wrong.
Fingerprints on an Iowa nursing license card from 1981 matched the church bookkeeper bond application from Sarasota 3 years later. The woman in the Florida Quilting Club had once been Diane Halverson, a 29-year-old nurse married to a husband who refused divorce. He died on Valentine's Day, 1983. The rural coroner called it cardiac arrest and did not run a tox panel. 2 months later, Diane collected $180,000 in life insurance, faked her drowning at Backbone State Park, and walked out of Iowa carrying a dead baby's name. In February 2026, Iowa exhumed Robert Halverson. His liver tissue returned ethylene glycol at lethal concentration. She had stirred it into his morning Folgers, 625 every morning for 10 weeks. 40 years of iced tea on a Florida porch had been paid for with insurance money on a husband she had spent 10 months killing. February 12, 2026, 3:47 in the afternoon. Tuesday, quilting day. Detective Reyes and 2 deputies stepped onto the porch of 4118 Magnolia Ridge Drive. Inside, 11 women were laughing about a misplaced bobbin. Sharon was on the porch with the iced tea pitcher. She had heard the patrol car turn onto the gravel and set out 3 glasses before they reached the steps. Reyes unfolded the warrant. First-degree murder, insurance fraud, aggravated identity theft. She listened the way you listen to a weather report. She asked if she had time to put away the quilting needles. The deputy said no. She nodded. She poured him a glass of iced tea anyway. Her hands did not shake. Reyes spoke once more, quiet, almost gentle. "Mrs. Halverson, your sister-in-law Ellie says hello." Tom Neely was at the Lowe's on Bee Ridge Road buying a replacement screen.
Was extradited to Iowa in March. She declined to enter a plea. Trial is set for the fall. Tom Neely came home from Lowe's that evening to deputies on the lawn and a house without his wife in it. He filed for annulment 6 weeks later. David, 38, learned his middle name, Robert, had been chosen for the man his mother killed. Kayla, 35, stopped introducing herself by her last name. The Sarasota Quilting Guild retired the chair at the head of the circle. Her last unfinished wedding ring quilt is still on the rack. Nobody has touched it. In April, Ellie Vance drove 6 hours from her farmhouse to Cedar Falls Lutheran Cemetery. She had a small new headstone in the back of the car. The old one had cracked across the name in 1979, and nobody had ever fixed it. She had the new one cut with the first name only, no last name, Margaret, 1957 to 1958. She set it carefully. She brushed the dirt away with the side of her hand. She sat on the grass for a while. She told her sister she got her name back.